Hello. Good to be with you today. I'm making this video blog from the heart of Steelers Nation. And of course today is a sad day in Steelers Nation because last night the Steelers lost to the Green Bay Packers. And of course everybody is sad and mourning and just really glum and everything. And I'm not really. But I was watching the news this morning and they showed a clip. They showed some folks in Green Bay, and they're celebrating, of course, because the Packers won the Super Bowl. And they showed a guy on there, and he said, he was yelling and screaming. It was at some bar somewhere, and he said, "This is the greatest day of my life." And I thought to myself, oh, man, you ought to get a life. I used to be a sports fan. I used to follow the Steelers and follow the Pirates when they used to win. This was a long time ago. Pirates haven't won in a long time. But this was back when Terry Bradshaw and John Stallworth, Lynn Swann, the Steel Curtain, and the Pirates had Willie Stargell and Dave Parker and all those guys. You know, they were like good players. And one year, and this is before I became a Christian, one year I used to go to baseball games all the time down at Three Rivers Stadium, where you could go in and for $2 you could sit anywhere in the outfield. And it was just, if it was a doubleheader, you could go to a Sunday doubleheader, see 2 games for the price of 1. You can't do that anymore. But one year I was going to the baseball games, and the players decided to go on strike. Now, at that time, I had worked for Allegheny Ludlam Steel Corporation for 33 years. At that time, I was working in the steel mill. I was making pretty good money for the time, maybe $10 an hour. It was quite a while back. And at that time, the players maybe were making, $1 million, $2 million was like a lot of money then. Of course, that's nothing now. But I thought to myself, I go to work every day for 8 hours. I get about 3-4 weeks vacation every year, and I got to go into a steel mill where it's dirty, hot, and I have to work and make my money. I come out here, and these guys are going to go on strike because they want more money. That means my ticket prices are going up, food's going up, parking, everything goes up. So I stopped being a sports fan because I thought it was a big ripoff, and still do. The first Super Bowl ticket cost $10. Super Bowl number 1, $10 to get in. This Super Bowl, you got to mortgage the house. How stupid. Anyway, I wanted to say all that just to say this. I have a Bible here, and this Bible contains an apocrypha. Now, in between the Testaments, a lot of things happen. And a while back, I did a series of messages on Daniel, and Daniel predicted things that were going to happen in between the Testaments. And one of the things that happened was that Alexander the Great, who was a great general, he died, and he gave his kingdom to 4 of his generals. And we're going to read that here in just a minute. But I want you to see about sports. And I'm not against sports. I think athletics is a good thing. I think it's good for kids to get involved and to be physically fit and competition. Those are all good things. But what happens when a society gets out of control, where these sports figures, and I don't blame them, they just get what the market will allow. They can demand millions and millions of dollars, and we're stupid enough to pay it. What would happen if they would have a football game sometime and nobody would come? The fans, the people of this country are stupid. We're paying all this money because we just don't want to give up our entertainment. But if they had a football game one time and there was less people in the stands and on the field, I guarantee you that things would change in professional sports. But anyway, listen to what this is. I'm reading from 1 Maccabees. I don't believe this is inspired. This is a history. I think it's a good history. I don't think this is God's word. It's part of the Apocrypha. Catholics believe it's God's word. I don't. But I think Maccabees is good history. Listen to what it has to say. We're dealing with history just a little bit. This is chapter 1 of Maccabees, 1 Maccabees. Alexander of Macedon, the son of Philip, marched from the land of Kittim, defeated Darius, king of Persia and Media, and seized his throne, being already king of Greece. In the course of many campaigns, he captured fortified towns, slaughtered kings, traversed the earth to its remotest bounds, and plundered innumerable nations. When at last the world lay quiet under his rule, his pride knew no limits. He built up an extremely powerful army and ruled over countries, nations, and dominions. All paid him tribute. The time came when he fell ill, and knowing that he was dying, he summoned his generals, nobles who had been brought up with him from childhood, and he divided his empire among them while he was still alive. Alexander had reigned 12 years when he died. His generals took over the government, each in his own province. On his death, they were all crowned as kings, and their descendants succeeded them for many years. They brought untold miseries upon the world. Now, here's the part I want to get to. A scion of this stock was that wicked man Antiochus Epiphanes, son of King Antiochus. He had been a hostage in Rome before he succeeded to the throne in the year 137 of the Greek era, about 175 BC. At that time there appeared in Israel a group of renegade Jews who incited the people. Let us enter into a covenant with the Gentiles round about, they said, because disaster upon disaster has overtaken us since we segregated ourselves from them. Now God chose his nation Israel to be separate and apart, just like he chooses his church to be separate and apart. But here we got some folks here in Israel saying, hey, listen, this isn't working. Let's get to be buddies with the Gentiles and see what happens. So the people thought this is a good regiment, and some of them in their enthusiasm went to the king and received authority to introduce non-Jewish laws and customs. Now listen, the first thing they did, they built a sports stadium in the Gentile style in Jerusalem. The first thing they did to try to steer the Jews away from God was to build a sports stadium. Isn't that something? Now, you could read more. There's a lot more stuff in there in Maccabees. But listen, this sports stuff, things are happening in the world. Do we see what's happening in the world right now? We're so caught up with the Super Bowl and the World Series and all this stuff, and we get distracted when people are dying all over the place and the world's crumbling, the world's falling apart. People need to hear the gospel. Now, I'm speaking specifically to Christians. If you're not a Christian, you're going to think this is a big joke. But listen, Christians, it's okay. You wear the black and gold or the green and orange or whatever. I'd like to see the teams win. Okay, that's entertainment, that's amusement. But you know what? There's a whole lot going on. We need to get serious about this thing. Forget about, in 10 years, we're not going to remember Ben Roethlisberger, Heinz Ward. None of that stuff. It's going to be all ancient history. But people are still dying. People are still dying and going to hell for eternity. What are we supposed to do? We're supposed to be preaching the gospel. Forget that game stuff. Forget that. All it is just a bunch of money. It's just a distraction. It's meant to get us away from God. You want to watch a football game? Go watch it. But listen, be willing to share your faith with somebody. That game, it comes and goes. It's about nothing. I still have to get up every morning and go and do my job, and so do you. And our job as believers is to tell others about Jesus Christ. God bless you, and have a wonderful day.